SCP-001, Dr. Cimmerian's Proposal, Object Class Keter. Welcome, O513. Please read this document thoroughly before making any decisions regarding the ongoing incident in your managed sector. SCP-001 is a point in space approximately 157 parsecs from Earth that, when visually observed, causes a viewer emotional distress. This distress manifests as a general and non-specific anxiety. The anxiety itself, while treatable, is long-lasting and unconnected to repeat observations of SCP-001. SCP-001 is remarkable in that it appears to be nearly equidistant to the neutron stars 81 Galatine and Secace Epsilon. These neutron stars appear to have formed simultaneously around 1 to 2 million years ago. Study of these neutron stars is the source of most security breaches related to SCP-001's existence. Exploration of SCP-001 and surrounding stellar systems by the SCP-V Tolkien and SCP-V Vonnegut, whose original missions were to run from 2063 to 2068, have led to a better understanding of the anomaly. Each of the surrounding stars appears to have at one time supported life-bearing planets and interplanetary civilizations. The minor anomalous effects related to SCP-001 appear to be amplified as distance between the observer and the anomaly decreases. What effects, if any, SCP-001 may have had on inhabited planets in orbit of the neighboring neutron stars is currently being investigated. Biological considerations of the sword stars. Author, Director Pat Anders. 2 different species of savants developed in this area of space. 81 Galatine II produced a species of humanoids. The Galatinian people were a near genetic match to terrestrial examples of Homo habilis, though how they found themselves this far away from Earth we do not know. Secace Epsilon 7, a small helium gas giant, produced a species of sulfur and silicon-based savants. Their technological artifacts are much harder to acquire and decipher than the Galatinians. The Secace body plan is mostly empty space and a distributed neural network. Using methods of self-inflation and gas release, they could rise, fall, or propel themselves in a particular direction. Secace orbital bases are difficult to explore as they are inhospitable to human life. There is a problem of sight to consider. We can bring back bits and pieces of the ruined civilizations, and that includes the remains of the dead. Yet we cannot visually observe the sky or the planets themselves without causing considerable psychological trauma. This has hindered our exploration efforts. Adapting to this, we have temporarily removed the eyes of several research teams to allow more in-depth exploration. The methods used are easily reversible and have helped us recover quite a bit of historical data from the Galatinian people. A brief history of the Sword Stars. Author, Director Kaze Agasa. It should be noted that the information gathered on the conflict between the Galatinian and Secace people were recovered mostly from a Galatinian perspective. This has introduced an unavoidable bias to the summary. The 2 systems are approximately 2.3 light-years away from each other. Radio signals from the Secace were detected fairly early in Galatinian technological development, though they were not understood to have a cosmic origin until later. The signals also ceased after around a century and a half, as the Secace likely moved away from high-leakage radio technology. Anomalies were known and accepted by the Galatinian people. At first, the Secace was classified as an anomalous entity. However, as more and more detail became known over the following years, the mundane nature of the Secace was accepted by the people of 81 Galatine. The Galatinians purportedly sent an envoy and research vessel to Secace Epsilon. It either did not arrive or did not survive the trip. This was attempted 4 additional times. These attempts took place over a period of 600 years, and during this time the Secace people did not respond to radio messages, nor were any efforts carried out by the Secace to make contact. Around 1200 years after the first detected radio emissions, a probe originating from Secace Epsilon was detected on the outskirts of 81 Galatine. This probe was destroyed by a xenophobic faction of Galatinian civilization. Fearing retaliation, an armed fleet of Galatinian ships was sent to Secace Epsilon. These ships were destroyed en route by a previously unknown weapon. The Galatinian government then began a number of projects to eliminate the assumed threat posed by the Secace. After approximately 450 years, a significant Secace fleet was detected en route to the homeworld of the Galatinians. All attempts to communicate with the Secace fleet failed. As this fleet reached the halfway point between the two systems, both 81 Galatine and Secace Epsilon spontaneously converted to neutron stars. The historical record ends here. It is unknown if this was a defensive move by the Galatinians or a final attack by the Secace. But it seems fairly clear from government records that anomalous means of defense and offense were being developed by both sides of the conflict. The SCP-V Tolkien and SCP-V Vonnegut. The exploration of both 81 Galatine and Secace Epsilon has necessitated the utilization of two interstellar vessels. Following an O5 Council vote, the Tolkien and Vonnegut were selected for the assignment due to their shipboard staff having the necessary expertise. Both are Bradbury-class exploratory vessels with a max range of 45 light-years per trip through a self-generated way and stutter warp drives for sublight travel. Each ship has a crew complement of 64. The Tolkien specializes in xeno-archaeolinguistics, as the Galatinians were a traditional terrestrial civilization. Many examples of their written language exist, as well as significant recorded instances of their spoken language. 27 scientists were assigned to the project under the authority of Director Kaze Agasa. Recovery teams Gamma and Phi were assigned to help collect physical evidence from 81 Galatine. The shipboard AI is a level 6 intelligence using the pseudonym Brent. Upon landing on 81 Galatine 2, it became readily apparent that the Galatinians were not in fact completely deceased. The heads of the individuals were left intact and living, despite there not being any biological support systems remaining. The Vonnegut's specialization is xenobiology and xenoanthropology. The Secacean civilization, technology, and communication networks are quite foreign to our experience, so a better understanding of these systems was the goal of the Vonnegut. 24 scientists under the authority of Director Pat Anders was assigned to the Vonnegut, along with a single recovery crew specializing in microgravity environs. The shipboard AI is a level 6 intelligence using the pseudonym Majel. It appears that the Secaceans were not limited to travel via ship and had methods of short-range near-planet orbital travel around Secace Epsilon 7. Approximately 34,000 corpses were found in orbit of the gas giant with fully intact silica-sulfur neural nets. After information was compared with the Tolkien's recovery of Galatinian heads, these neural nets were tested for activity and found to be fully functional. Since the Secacean people live primarily in the upper layers of the gas giant Secace Epsilon 7, it is believed that the majority of their population, estimated to number in the trillions, are unrecoverable. Alert. Situation in progress. The following briefing will be expanded as more information is discovered. Report on the SCP-V Tolkien. The Tolkien reported an info breach approximately 3 hours before contact was lost. A member of the recovery team was eating in the mess hall when he used a fork to scoop out both eyes. He was restrained, but the physical damage was quite extensive. The chief medical officer estimated approximately 6 weeks of recovery at a minimum. Roughly 2 hours after this incident, the captain reported other strange behavior from several crew members. Before contact was lost, the captain displayed symptoms of paranoia and anxiety. She did not listen to commands from headquarters and cut all communication shortly thereafter. The severity of the SCP-001 effect increases with proximity to the anomaly. Prior testing indicates it is wholly possible that the crew of Tolkien are suffering from severe paranoia and hallucinations at this point if fully exposed. Under normal circumstances, this would be impossible given the safeguards we put into place. A secondary anomaly, or a less than complete understanding of the core anomaly, may have led to failures in our safeguards. Vonnegut was redirected to act as a recovery or rescue vessel, as it was the closest ship and also had experience dealing with the anomaly. Shortly after the Vonnegut docked with the Tolkien, it too lost contact with mission control. Report on the SCP-V Vonnegut. A rescue mission was prepared aboard the Vonnegut. The rescue crew was waiting in Cargo Bay 3 for the docking process to complete. During the approach, various communication signals were received from the Tolkien. These signals originated from both the ship's crew and computer systems, though none were coherent. Approximately 12 minutes after the first signal was received, the mechanical failure of the primary and secondary airlocks of Cargo Bay 3 vented 6 crew members and a member of the recovery team into space. Recovery of the bodies was tasked as a priority. However, the secondary rescue team's environmental suits began to malfunction immediately upon leaving the ship. All remaining members of the Vonnegut's recovery team, including those sent to rescue the previous team, suffocated during these malfunctions. At this point, the command and control center aboard the Vonnegut reported a logic fault in the primary computer systems. The Vonnegut began to suffer ship-wide system failures over the next several hours. During this time, the airlocks of the Vonnegut were inoperable. This preluded any further attempts at rescuing those aboard the Tolkien. The final distress call indicated a failure of the life support systems. Under normal circumstances, this would allow 36 hours to effect a rescue. If airlock and door control have been compromised, this estimate may be meaningless. Situation update. SCP-V Asimov and the SCP-V Clark are within range to effect a rescue. However, the Clark is 26 hours out. The Asimov has begun casting the appropriate spells to travel to the area, but is waiting for confirmation from the O5 Council on how to proceed. Question before the Council. Should we order the rescue of the Tolkien and Vonnegut? Council vote summary. O5, 1. Aye. 2, nay. 3, aye. 4 through 6, nay. 7, aye. 8, nay. 9 through 11, aye. 12, nay. Status: incomplete. O513 has not voted. Footnotes: 1. Informally identified in the amateur astronomy community as the Sword Stars. From Earth, these stars appear 3.6 degrees below the Sword of Orion. 2. Specifically the Galatine Homo habilis. 3. The study of ancient alien languages. Special containment procedures. Psychological counseling and or medication relating to anxiety disorders caused by SCP-001 are to be provided to any affected staff. MTF Kappa 10 Skynet is to be tasked with indexing all data related to communications regularly used in online. Astronomy communities. Specific care is to be paid to mentions of anxiety related to areas associated with SCP-001. Notable observations of the 2 neuron stars and proximity of SCP-001 made by the astronomy community and or reported to places of academia are to be reviewed by the anomaly's current project lead. This individual is to be granted broad authority to remove any data from public record as necessary. Both 81 Galatine and Secace Epsilon are to be considered exclusion zones. As the systems are located in Sector 13, O513's approval is necessary before entry into these systems is allowed, even in the case of a full council vote.